All right, let's talk about that feeling. You're sitting at the poker table and there's that one player, it's like they've got x-ray vision, right? They just always seem to know what you're holding. Well, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. It's not magic and it's not a superpower. It's a skill. And today, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you exactly how it's done and how you can start doing it too.
I mean, it is so frustrating, isn't it? When someone makes that perfect fold or just seems to squeeze every last chip out of you with a value bet. You're left sitting there wondering, how? But trust me, it's got nothing to do with psychic powers. The answer is actually way more practical. Because here's the thing, it's not about reading minds. It's all about pattern recognition. The best players out there, they're basically detectives at the poker table. They're constantly on the lookout for clues, for habits, for patterns in how everyone else is playing. And you know what the best part is? This is a skill that absolutely anyone can develop.
Okay, so let's dive into what we're calling poker's secret language. At its heart, poker is a game of incomplete information. You just can't see your opponent's cards. But every single action they take, every bet, every check, every raise, it's like a word in this hidden language. And once you learn how to speak it, you can start filling in those gaps and piecing the puzzle together. And what we're hunting for is what's known as an opponent pattern. All this is, really, is a habit that repeats itself. You know, do they always bet small when they're bluffing? Do they only raise before the flop when they have a monster hand? Spotting these little tendencies isn't just interesting, it gives you a massive, tangible edge at the table. So how do we actually start decoding this language? Well, it's not about finding one single magical tell. It's more about building a complete profile of our opponent, piece by piece, based on, well, everything they do.
Here's a simple way to think about it. First, watch their timing. A really quick call, that often means a medium-strength hand they didn't have to think twice about. But a long pause, that could signal a tough decision or maybe even a trap. Second, you've got to track bet sizing. Does a player who usually bets small all of a sudden make a huge bet? That is a massive clue about their hand strength. Third, watch for emotional shifts. Is someone getting tilted after a bad beat? They're probably going to start playing a lot more recklessly. And finally, take notes, even just mental ones. Player X always raises the river when their draws miss. These small details build a roadmap right to their strategy.
Now, as you gather all this data, you'll start to see players kind of fall into certain categories or archetypes. And look, this isn't about stereotyping people, it's about creating mental shortcuts so you can quickly come up with a baseline strategy against the most common types of players you'll face. And just look at how directly a player's behavior connects to your counter strategy. Against a tight passive player who folds way too much, you can just be aggressive and steal pots left and right. Against a loose, aggressive player, you gotta be patient and let them bluff right into your strong hands. And the loose passive player, the calling station, you just bet for value over and over and over again when you have a good hand, because you know they're gonna call. This contrast is just so important to understand. The tight passive player is like a rock. They're just waiting for those premium hands. You can totally bully them. But the loose aggressive player, they're a storm, always applying pressure. Against them, you need to be a lighthouse, just waiting for the right moment to stand firm and trap them. See? Two completely different opponents, two completely different game plans. So, you've identified the patterns, you've profiled your opponents, you're feeling pretty good. But now we get to the single most important concept in all of this, the moment when the pattern breaks. And don't get me wrong, spotting a player's habits, that is a fundamental, crucial skill. It's step one. But where the real money is made is when that pattern breaks. A sudden change from their normal behavior is the loudest, clearest signal you'll ever get at a poker table. It's a massive red flag that something is up.
Seriously, think about it. When that super tight player who has folded for an hour suddenly starts re-raising you, what does that scream? When the calling station makes a giant bet on the river? Or when the crazy aggressive player suddenly slows down to a crawl? These shifts are major, major clues. They could be tilted, they might be adjusting to you, or they could have just woken up with the nuts, the best possible hand.
Okay, so you've spotted the pattern, and now you've seen the shift. But you know what? All that observation is totally useless if you don't act on it. So now, let's talk about how to turn these reads into cold, hard, profitable decisions. This is what we call an exploitative strategy. Basically, instead of trying to play some perfectly balanced, game theory optimal style, you are actively targeting the specific flaws you've seen in your opponent's game. For example, if you know they fold way too often on the turn, guess what? You can bluff them relentlessly on that street.
It's that simple. This all feeds right into your hand reading process. It's a really logical flow. First, you don't try to guess their exact two cards. That's a fool's game. You put them on a range of possible hands based on what they did before the flop. Then, with each new card and each round of betting, you narrow that range down. Finally, and this is the key, you compare that narrowed down range with their known patterns. If a super passive player is betting big, you can pretty confidently remove most, if not all, of the bluffs from their potential range of hands. Now, like any advanced skill, this is going to take some practice. You're not going to become an expert overnight. But just as important as practicing is knowing what common mistakes to avoid so you don't end up just fooling yourself. So here are the biggest traps you need to watch out for. First, don't jump to conclusions after seeing something one time. You're looking for repeated behavior. Second, always consider the context. A big bet means something totally different when a player is short-stacked. Third, sometimes there's just no read to be had, so don't force one. And finally, never forget, they're trying to read you, too. You have to be aware of the patterns you're giving off. At the end of the day, this is probably the best way to think about it. You're not really trying to guess their two exact cards. You're trying to understand the story they are telling you with every single action they take, from the very first bet to the final card on the river. So just remember this. The cards that come off the deck are random, but people are not. People have habits, they have emotions, and they have tendencies. They have a story. The only question is, are you paying close enough attention to read it?
Start a live chat now to join one of our clubs or ask us any questions. Message at bluffingmonkeys24_7 on Telegram or visit bluffingmonkeys.com and start a live chat.